Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Montclair Historic Preservation meeting of March 20th, 2025. This is a regular meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. We are being broadcast live on Channel 34, Montclair TV, and remotely streamed on YouTube. The roll call, please.
Yes, I will just announce a change to the agenda first. The application number 2024-12 for 16 Pleasant Avenue with applicant Pleasant Way Holdings LLC has been postponed to May 15th, 2025 without the need for further public notice. And the roll, Chair Bennett.
Present.
Vice Chair Graham is not present. Mr. Reimnitz.
Here.
Mr. Rooney.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Here.
Mr. Giuliano.
Here.
Mr. Pierre is not present, Mr. Mixer is not present, and Ms. Floyd is not present. And Mr. Tajler.
Here.
Thank you.
And Mr. Teisler is sitting in for Mr. Smolin,
Yes.
our HPC consultant. And note that Ms. Bauer, our attorney, is not present tonight.
Yes, Ms. Bauer is not present.
So can we go back I just would like to know if there's do we know how many times a application can be postponed? Is it indefinite? Did you find that out or?
No, I didn't find that out, but.
Okay, that's fine.
I
Fair
think
enough.
for the Historic Preservation Commission, no, because it's a hearing. I'll double check.
That's fine. I would have asked Ms. Bauer tonight. All right, next is the approval of minutes from February 20th, 2025. Are there any addendum or changes? And I know that Mr. Reimnitz and Mr. Sweeney were not here.
So
Oh.
Abstain, we have the same issue. So.
Yeah, we have the same issue because there's only 3 of us here. So we'll have to adopt these next month.
Okay.
But I'd like to say, great job, Zenith. I have
you.
no comments this time.
yeah, but quite thorough.
Next up is resolution, application 2024-34 for 144 Union Street, which is a total demolition of a detached garage. The demolition was approved. We have a resolution. However, we have the same issue in that we have 2 commissioners here tonight that can't vote on it because they weren't here last month. So the suggestion is that we adopt this resolution tonight and then we ratify it at our next meeting, which will be on April 19th?
17th.
April 17th. So do we have to take a vote to adopt?
Yes,
I think so, yes.
Okay. So the two.
So, just a clarifying question. If we adopt it tonight and then the next meeting, will people have opportunity to make changes to it or not?
I thought that was.
You're the 2 people that, the people.
Right.
The answer is yes if they need
I'm,
to make changes.
this is our attorney,
Yeah.
but that's. So say that again, Jerry?
I would say yes if they find some material deficiency in it. You know,
Okay.
I would say we're adopting it based on the substance of the resolution, based on our all of us participated in at least one of the meetings in which it had, and it was substantively, at least I thought it was substantially agreed to at the previous meeting, but finished at this last.
And unchanged in the discussion.
It
was not.
yeah.
Okay, so with the 2 abstentions here tonight, can you call the roll to vote?
Yes.
To adopt.
If you have abstentions, you don't have enough to
Well, you can abstain.
adopt.
Well,
I wasn't going to abstain, I was going to vote in favor of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you're going to, okay.
I was going to vote in favor of it. I read the resolution. It is substantially consistent but more expansive than
Okay.
what we discussed.
Okay.
in the meeting.
All right, so then you get to vote.
So this is a vote on the adoption of the resolution for application 2024-34 for 144 Union Street. Chair Bennett.
Yes.
Vice Chair Graham is not present. Mr. Reimnitz.
Yep.
Mr. Rooney.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
And that's about it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you'll, maybe you should send a message to the members that aren't here tonight so that they know they have a chance to weigh in at the next meeting. Okay, thank you. Okay, on to committee reports. Minor applications. On February 27th, the Minor Applications Committee met. Application 2025-5, 491 Bloomfield Avenue was approved as submitted. The meeting for March 13th was canceled as we had no applications. Education and outreach, May is Preservation Month. We're going to open up the applications for the awards, which will be on the website. So if you could put that on the website, just update the year, obviously. We have 3 types of awards: brick and mortar, preservation, and preservation service. So anyone out there in the public that would like to nominate, please check the website, the township website, and fill out the application. It's really very easy to do. We have dates for our next Researching Your Home History. We're going to meet in collaboration with the Montclair History Center and also the Montclair Public Library on Saturday, May 17th and Wednesday, May 21st from 10 to 12. And I know there's a number of us that have joined. It's a great program. Again, anybody in the audience and at home, if you'd like to research your home or another structure within the township, the information will be on the website as soon as we get the flyer, and it will be very easy to show you how to register for this. It will be held at the Montclair Public Library. It's a great resource because the library has deeds, the Montclair History Center has a number of maps, and it's just a way to see what's available within the, locally, that you can actually see what went on, how your house matured, let's say, over the years. I was invited on March 8th to Maplewood for a meeting with the Maplewood, Milburn, and Montclair HPCs. It was an opportunity to discuss historic districts. I think what's really interesting in light of the development that's going on all around the state, that there's much more interest now in historic districting. And this was a collaboration for people on different HPCs to talk about the issues, the problems, applications, and it was a very informative meeting. So we hope to hear more from them. They may also join us again for one of our collaborative meetings with, which we did with the land boards last month. So going on, in terms of outreach, one of the things I came away with from this meeting on March 8th was an idea to celebrate our semi-quintennial, which is quintennial. I looked it up and I wrote it down. 250-year celebration, which I think, I've talked to a couple of council people, and they're starting to think of how Montclair will be able to celebrate it. And I thought, and this is the first time that I'm putting it out there, but especially with people on the outreach program, is that if we, I believe there are 3 houses in town that were here during that time. 2 are Dutch colonials, brownstones, and 1 may be the Howe House. So if that's the case, I thought maybe we could do not a plaque, because that would cost too much money, but maybe some kind of a recognition of these 3. And if anybody knows of any other houses. I know, Zanab, there's a list of properties and the year of construction that maybe if you would be so kind to look through and see if there's anything else.
Is there a list based on year of construction?
Which we may and may not be, able to rely on, but it's around that time. But we know the Dutch brownstones are old.
For all properties in Montclair?
Yeah.
I have it, Graham ran it. I don't know how where he found it.
Okay.
It's probably from the tax
Yeah, we
assessor.
can just download a list of all the parcels from the tax assessor and then sort it by year.
Right.
Constructed, and then go from there.
So just go back and see when the oldest ones are and see
Okay.
how many we have.
Sounds good.
Maybe we could fudge it a little bit.
Yeah.
1776 to 1790.
We got a whole year to work on it.
That's right. All right.
It's a good idea, though.
Oh, just something, because we missed it the last time,
Maybe
remember?
there's a house from each period, you know, these are the oldest, and then 200 years ago. this
That's
house was
great.
built,
Yeah,
And show, if it's bringing us to the
Right.
present time,
Right.
even maybe a new house that we would
that would be great.
identify as,
Yeah. Are you on this committee? No,
no.
you just don't- you
I'll
are
bring
now.
it.
All right, I think that's a
Okay,
great
okay,
idea.
yeah,
All right, moving on to grants. We have a lot of grant activity, and Zanab has been instrumental in pulling this all together. So the first one is our annual report, which is due when?
March 31st, but if we don't get it in then, we can submit it April 11th with our 2025 grant application.
Okay. And I know you're working on that.
Yes.
Okay, the 2024 grant application.
Council discussed the resolution to grant the award to Connolly Hickey at the last council meeting, March 13th, I believe, and there were no questions, no comments, and they'll be approving that resolution at the 25th meeting, March 25th,
Okay.
hopefully.
And then our next grant application, which is 2025 to 2026, we've identified the subject, which is the South End and the Miller Street historic districts. And we are working with Zena, is investigating what a brief history of what the South End Orange Road history is, just a couple of sentences so we could put that in. But Zanab is also working on that as well. And then the next one is the grant for the idea of the police station. That's the Historic Trust grant. And I was at a meeting with Janice, and she kindly offered your but I must say, Zanab, I've just found out, is actually the Historic Preservation Officer. So she's got a lot on her plate with preservation, which is, she's learning really.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot.
a lot. Thank you for that work.
course.
Thank you.
So I'll be in touch with you this week about that. And then I had a call from a member of the public about the deteriorating shed that's on Lorraine Avenue. That's the train shed on Lorraine and Braymore. It's really falling apart. The roof has got holes in it, the sides has got holes in it. So I asked Zanab if she could write to DOT just to tell them about the condition of it.
West side of the tracks.
On the west side of the tracks north. It's a
Right.
really nice old shed. So you'll give us an update then at the next one, too. All right.
Right.
Does anyone else have any? I don't think we had any other. No, okay. Public comment. Is there any public comment? Anybody from the public that would like to get up and speak? Do you want to speak?
No.
Oh.
Sure there will come a time where I'll speak.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I just saw the look, I'm sorry. So there's no public comment. Public comment is closed. Old business, any old business? I don't think we have any old business. New business. New business is, the first one on the agenda is the Development Review Committee Referral, application 2918, 67 Park Street, Congregation Shomrei Emunah, which is new wall sconces and freestanding pole lights. And we're reviewing this because it's in one district. I think it's the proposed Walnut Street district. Is anyone here for this application? No? Okay, so then we'll just go ahead and discuss it amongst ourselves. So the project description is the applicant proposes to install 13 new wall sconces mounted to the facade of the building, and 4 freestanding pole signs. 2 freestanding pole signs will be located north of the egress driveway in the landscaped area, and 2 will be added to the rear property line. The 13 wall sconces will be added around the building on each facade. The application is located in the Walnut Street Potential District. The property has not been individually surveyed. The application is deemed complete, and we have plans here. And we also have our historic consultant's report. So, has everyone been able to look at this? So why don't we start, we can't question anybody, so why don't we start with comments? Nick?
I don't really have any issue with the plan per se. I think 5,000 K is a really white light for a building. Yeah, 4,000.
I'd say they're very white.
Yeah, like an incandescent bulb is like 2,700 K. 4,000's like, hospital lighting.
Oh,
I don't know if we have any,
3,500, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
totally with you.
Yeah.
'Cause
I don't
it
think
just-
we have any jurisdiction over that, but that's my only
Well, it's
comment.
a-
No, it creates it's a visual thing.
Yeah, it's in a
Yeah.
historic
Yeah,
district.
yeah.
I thought they could just look at maybe a different color
35,
temperature. If it still
3,500,
meets,
yeah,
as long as it meets all
max.
the foot candles that they're trying to get for the sidewalks and the
That's
parking
good,
lot,
good
but.
point. I
So-
didn't look at that.
so it's a different type of light.
There's a different color,
Color.
it emits a different white light.
Right,
color. It's
but-
a warm light instead of a white.
So we're recommending
Hospital light,
3,500 K?
3,500 K.
Okay.
Okay,
Or less,
Max.
yeah.
Or
Or
less,
less.
or less.
okay, good point.
But I thought the fixtures themselves looked
The
fine.
pictures were fine, yeah,
Yeah.
and the placement of them.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Steve?
The only thing I'm concerned about is it's the, I don't know, it goes past the property line. And,
The placement?
no, not the placement.
If you look at the
Oh, oh.
light spread.
Right.
It goes into the neighborhood. So, then that throws,
You shouldn't really,
everyone's gonna be up in arms, and I would be too, if they're
yeah,
lighting my house, so.
that's right. Reading the
So
newspaper.
light spread onto neighboring property?
Yeah, yeah, they need to adjust that.
And it's all around it.
Yeah. I guess I'd like to understand the logic. There's no one to ask questions of,
Mhm.
but, you go ahead first.
No, it's,
Okay.
if you go up on Pompton Avenue, there's a temple up there that they just put in new lighting, and you can land your plane there. It
Oh,
is so
really?
bright.
Really?
So, I want to make sure that doesn't happen, because this is in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
I don't understand the logic behind, why are they saying it's for security purposes?
Probably.
But then I would look at this and go, okay, we don't need those. If it's security, it's
Right.
around the outside.
It's around the
That's right.
outside.
So what are they doing here?
Yeah, there's an entrance over here.
Over there. Oh, yeah, it's right here, but there's no
Right.
light there. It's over
There's an
here.
existing light, but
Oh, there's an
Yeah.
existing light?
an overhead.
So we're saying to re-examine the placement of the light poles?
Yeah, and to eliminate the overage.
does the
Okay.
township engineer review this at all?
I don't know.
Foot candles at the property line?
Yeah, they would, because this is a development review committee application, so
Okay. Yeah.
the engineer would
I'd leave
review
it up
it.
to
They
them.
haven't gone to the DRC yet, but I'm sure they would say a similar
Yeah.
comment.
But these recommendations would be put together in a memo that the
Yeah,
DRC,
exactly.
and then the
Right,
engineer
to
would
look
then
at.
look at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's got to be some limit that they have at the
Right.
property line that they're allowed to spill over lighting wise.
Okay. John?
Again, every parking lot that I've been involved with, you provide enough lighting of the parking lot for safety purposes,
Right.
okay? And for coming and going, and it protects your insurance, whatever, They're not doing that. They're throwing all this light around
On the perimeter,
which
right.
I'd like to hear whether, more why, You know, have they had break-ins? Is there vandalism? Is there, what's going on that is generating this?
But again, it would be to re-examine the placement of
The
the.
placement, yeah, sure.
Right.
Sure, yeah. But are we gonna be able to look, are we looking at this again?
No, I don't think so. Yeah,
So-
I know, but at least it goes, somebody's going to look at it.
Yeah, okay.
Is that your only comment?
Yeah, I think the actual fixtures are okay,
Mhm.
except for the fact that the way they they need to be, not, per Mr. Rooney's statement, it's.
It should stop at the
they gotta
property
stop-
line.
It's gotta be aimed inwards,
Mm-hmm,
you know, so.
mm-hmm. Okay,
In the color.
right. Mr. Sweeney?
Next.
Yes, my overall view is that it just adds illumination to highlight the design of the house, and the lights shine down, so they shouldn't be, the sconce lights shine down, so they're not gonna be obstructive, and I think it would provide some security. It did seem to me they were missing a light here, so when I looked at the parking lot, normally you have light over a parking lot, it seems to be a big gap between the front back light and the two lights in the back. Maybe it's for younger people that see better than you. But I think they're missing a pole there.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with the comments made. It'd be desirable to have a color light that isn't harsh, but one that just provides enough light for security and also illustrates the historical character of the building.
Okay, so re-examine the placement of the light spread onto the property, but also re-examine the.
Just the lantern. I seem to be missing one lantern.
Right,
And
the
I was-
light, the actual lighting for the parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And the number of lights.
I didn't have a problem with the number, only because looking at the design, looks like a small light, and it looks like it's shining straight down, so you're not gonna have a lot of,
So there's a gap in the light, there's a gap in the lighting.
But Jerry, those spreads, that's
This.
the spread of the light. They're not aimed down.
They're not?
No.
They're spilling
No.
into the neighbor across the property line. Those
oh,
are spreads
this
of light.
is the design, it's not
Yes.
aimed down?
It
It's
aims
aimed down,
out.
but it goes
Look
out.
Oh,
look at
okay,
the
I'm sorry, then I misread how,
That's what Steve is saying. The light spread is going onto the adjoining property.
oh, okay, that would seem inappropriate. I
That's okay,
interpreted it
that's
as
okay.
aiming down as being,
It should.
what?
It should aim down. I would agree with you.
Okay,
Mhm.
so let's include that as a recommendation. It should aim down.
And, I think we have a thing in the town rules about
I'm sure that's in our.
night sky.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
light can be pollution, too.
And my only comment was that the wall sconces, and Steve and Mr. Smolane brought this up, that if they didn't confirm how they were to be attached to the building. So they need to be attached within the mortar joints. Okay. Mr.
Alexi.
Alexei works.
Right, I would agree with the commission. I would say, dovetailing to that, not only how are the sconces attached, but where is the conduit? Right, is
No,
the conduit
right.
being
Right.
concealed, or is it running down the facade?
Good
We
call.
much prefer the former. And yes, the Kelvin temperature at 4,000. If you lower it to 3,500 or 3,000, you get closer to the warmer yellow tones as opposed to the more blue, steely white tones, the higher you get up.
Okay, good. So we have 5 points, Zanav. Do you want to,
So, re-examining the placement of the freestanding poles to make sure that they're lighting the driveway for safety as opposed to around the perimeter and like spreading light. The lighting should be reconfigured to make sure it's facing down for the sconces and that the freestanding poles are not emitting light into neighboring properties. The color or like the lumen of the light should be readjusted to be closer to 3,500 K or less. And then how are the sconces being attached? They should be attached to the mortar. And where is the conduit, preferably sealed? Okay,
All right,
did I get that right?
Just change lumen to color temperature.
Okay, color
Color
temperature.
Lumen's a different statistic.
And
They might get
and
confused.
I think we said the conduit should be hidden, so
Yeah,
Okay.
internal.
it's not just a pressure, it's internal.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, this is a planning board referral. Application 2919, 225 Lorraine Avenue. This is a third-floor dwelling and an additional unit. I'd like to invite people who's here to speak to, and while you're getting set up, I'll just give some historic content. This property is in the Upper Montclair Historic Business District. It is characterized as harmonizing. The report defines harmonizing as buildings constructed after the district's period of significance, 1880s to 1930s, and approximately 40% of the district's buildings were categorized as either harmonizing or altered harmonizing in the report. You're coming back to us. We looked at this application, I don't remember one.
year
Was it
ago.
really a year ago? All right.
Yeah.
And at that time, we gave our recommendations, and I'm pleased to see what you've done with the property. So why don't you begin to tell us what else, what you've done to come back for a...
Just please turn your mics on.
And I think you were sworn in the last time, so you don't have to be sworn in again.
Okay. Is it a new application number, though, I wonder?
Oh, I don't know.
Procedurally?
Yeah.
It is a new application.
It is.
All right, so then I have to swear you in.
Okay.
So,
Raise your-
Yes.
Can I ask you, you said it was here a year before, and I remember it. I don't know that I remember the three-story before. Was it three-story before?
No.
No, this is what he's going to tell us.
That's
There's
the new
two-
application.
Let him be sworn in.
Thank you. It's okay.
Do you
I-
swear, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth with regard to this new application?
I do.
And please identify yourself.
Ryan Robertson from GSAPC, and this is Marcello Rodio, the applicant.
And you're the owner.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, will you be testifying as well?
Probably doesn't need to. Maybe we could swear him in if he has to answer a question.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, so, as you said, we were here about a year ago. We actually went to the planning board after the meeting. Then subsequently, Marcello and I met with Mr. Remnitz and Mr. Graham, who's not here today, on site to make some tweaks to that previous application, which we did. And then we went to the planning board and got approval. So that was fully approved, but then Marcello thought about it a little bit, and he decided to add a third story, remove the roof terrace that we were doing, do a third story setback with a smaller little roof terrace. So a lot of this, those of you who were here last time, is going to be just the same thing, so I won't dwell on it too much. I'll go rather quickly through a lot of this stuff. So just give a quick, just set your bearings. We're at 225 Lorraine Avenue, the Moline Kronberg Dry Cleaner. It's on the north side of Lorraine Avenue near Valley Road, 70 feet from the intersection. It's .09 acres, and the lot is improved with a one-story brick and stucco building and a paved parking area. Next. This is a photo of the existing Google Street View, but this is dated, this is from the previous presentation. This is dated October 2021. And here you see to the left is Veggie Heaven Restaurant, and to the right is a 2.5-story wood frame building, which is a dental office. And the subject building right here is brick and stucco with a wood shingle mansard roof concealing a flat roof. Next slide is a more recent Google image. This is from September 24. where you see the street tree that was on the previous slide right here, that's been removed since that photo was taken. And here's some photos from the rear and alley views, which were important to the last application, are still important in terms of the planning board, because we intend to infill the alley, just like the last application. This area belongs to the applicant. And so there's a tree here. This tree was removed, and it was part of the scope, so that we can create at the rear a way for the tenants on Valley to get out in an emergency exit situation. So, let's see, next slide. This is an image of the surrounding area from Bing Satellite from 2023. To the east, we talked about that. To the east is the dental office. To the west is an auto shop, Veggie Heaven, Williams Sonoma. And to the south is the Saunders Hardware around the corner on Valley Road. And that's the previous location of Marcello's business. Mullen Kronberg operated out of that building since 1911, and then it subsequently moved to the current location in 1940. And so the proposal for this application is to construct, rather than constructing a second story and a roof, green roof, it's to construct a second story and a third story with one dwelling unit and additional office space on level 2, which hasn't changed. And what has changed is one dwelling unit on level 3 with a small roof terrace. Both dwelling units are similar in size. The second one hasn't changed from the 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and a den. The third floor is a 1 bedroom, 2 bath, and a den. And we, just like last time, we're proposing new parking area with tandem parking spaces, which was previously approved by planning board. A trash enclosure right here, not changed from the last application. And these 3 spaces are intended for the business use, or for the employees to park. These 3 spaces are for short visits or people coming in and out to pick up dry cleaning, which again hasn't changed. This is just showing other information about the site. This hasn't changed either. This is 11 arborvitae in the rear, which we propose to keep and eliminate 4 so that we can create this exit path from these 2 adjacent buildings since we're infilling this area. Again, that was presented last time. It's a gravel area, a gravel path, and then this is a gravel area for snow storage. And new plantings in the front. Right here are 3-foot tall deciduous shrubs, Carolina rose. And then back here are going to be evergreen shrubs that grow to 42 to 48 inches tall. And so the red arrows you see here are intended to be employee path to get to the double doors for the back of house area. The green arrows will be for patrons of the business. And now we'll go to the floor plans. So this floor plan has not changed from what you saw last time. It's the first floor, 1,818 square feet, and that's inclusive of the 128 square foot addition for the stair. We proposed, just like last time, a new storefront system, and most of this remains unchanged, just some reconfiguring in the service desk area. And what was remaining is a small area for tailoring, and the reason he took this project up to begin with a year ago was to provide tailoring spaces on the second floor for, especially for like bridal gowns and stuff like that, and have more privacy, because right now there's hardly any place you can get measured. So that is not changing. Second floor, touchy mouse. Second floor is, you see the stairwell leading back down to the first floor right here. You could wrap around and go up to the third floor. And the front area is a tailoring area with a private dressing room, work area, private washroom, and then a small office for Marcello, and a private washroom for him. And then here's the dwelling unit. Again, this plan has not changed. Third floor is where we have the difference. So rather than this stair just coming up to kind of a bulkhead opening onto a green roof, now it opens into a similar dwelling unit as before, although it is a 2-bathroom. Right here is a second bathroom, a den, a bedroom, an ensuite bathroom. And then right here you go out onto a small roof terrace. This is a 1,443 square foot, 1,293 of which is the dwelling unit. And here's the roof plan, just showing the roof terrace below and a screened area for mechanical equipment. Here's the mechanical screen we proposed, which is an aluminum 42-inch tall equipment screen. And so the next 4 slides are of the proposed elevations. The materials are brick to match existing, stucco in a light brown color, black windows, black storefront, and a black metal railing right at the top, a short little railing here, similar to what we had. And on the south elevation here, you see the top of some potted trees that will be in this front terrace. The upper floor is this stucco finish with casement windows. And we're proposing LED sign lights. There'll be 3 of them right here shining on this sign and 2 around the corner. There's a small sign you can probably see on your sheet better than you can see on this image. But there's a smaller sign right there with similar LED, kind of modern looking goosenecks. The front sign is an existing one to be relocated. It's 16 square feet. And currently there's a big 40 square foot sign that's not very attractive facing the parking lot. We're going to replicate the first one, but shrink it to 8 square feet around the side, so it'll look the same, an oval shape. Previously, we had a fabric awning, and the HPC recommended that we extend it across the whole storefront, and we did that for the previous application. We've kept that here. But now instead of, and later I have a slide showing comparing the two side by side. Previously, we had all stucco up here, and here you can see we're proposing brick. The height to the flat point of the roof is 36 feet. And here's a rendered view from the southeast corner. You see the red antiqued brick, which will match existing, brown stone lintels and sills, and the stucco is just on the 3rd floor here, which will be a light brown, kind of beigey color. And the east elevation is next, facing the parking lot. Again, you see the trees and the plantings overhead up in the terrace. You see the dashed line of a HVAC unit behind an equipment screen. The second wall sign I mentioned, it's 8 square feet. That's to be located below a brick soldier course, which is aligning with the metal, kind of brick metal enclosure that's setting this area's inset on the first floor plan. Everything else here is of the same plane. And this kind of detail was the same as the previous application, along with this brick here. But right here at this soldier course is where it differs. Everywhere up from there. It's 7'6" to the underside of this canopy, so we've got a trash enclosure that we modified in the previous application to extend to the full height of that, so it has a roof. And underneath there will be LED lights on a timer with a motion sensor for this garbage and trash enclosure for the business and the tenants. Rear elevation. This shows the 3 HVAC units up here behind the equipment screen. The 3rd window you see on the 1st floor, all these windows are behind security grills. But on this one here, there'll be a louver behind the security grill. That was, again, part of the previous application. And this diagram was also shown last time, showing how someone from these 2 adjacent buildings will get out in an emergency and go behind our building to the parking lot and to safety. This elevation is quite similar to the other as well. Again, showing the adjacent buildings kind of dashed and how you would get through between the 2 to here and then go left and then along the back. All of this that you see is stucco. This is just set back further. There's an existing PVC pipe that we had to route up, and we worked the stairs along with that. And the stair really hasn't changed except for adding another flight. I believe in the memo, it said to discuss the brick here, and that's actually a graphical error. This shouldn't be showing brick right here. Both buildings are at the property line, so that wouldn't be showing like that. These are just some images of site improvements. The wall sconce that was previously proposed, the LED sign lights that were previously proposed, the single EV charging station was previously proposed, And here's the trash enclosure details. Same as before. It'll be black aluminum. And the plant schedule, those are the two plant areas that I talked, or the two different shrubs that I talked about on the east property line. Signage, this is just showing the compliance. We've talked about that. And now here's an image to kind of show the comparison. So to refresh anyone's memory who saw it before, just side by side, I thought it would be helpful to see what was previously went through the whole process and what we've got. So we had a higher parapet because we were doing a green roof. It was serving as a fall protection, but it also had a lot of structure to hold all the weight of the green roof. And now we're not doing that, so we could really bring down the scale of the front here. But we are proposing a third story, which is set back this much, which you could see. I wish I had the dimension up. I don't remember the dimension there, but maybe 10 feet back. And then here's the parking lot facing elevation, which was previously approved, and what we're proposing now. So we were wrapping the brick all the way down, but just on the first floor, and we decided to carry it up here to the third floor and have a lot less stucco and kind of change the detailing at the windows. Here's a comparison of the previously approved southeast rendering compared to what we're proposing now. It is taller, but again, set back. And more windows, more brick detailing, less stucco. Here's the proposed stucco detailing is kind of like a beveled recess with just to cast some interesting shadows. And so this is just a little shadow study at these two windows in the rendering, and a shadow study. The same bevel would be happening at these large glass doors that open onto the terrace, and it's kind of to sort of a knife's edge. But this is a study at the summer solstice. We designed it so that at summer it would be in full shade. And these are some choices for the stone lintels and sills. Right across from us on Lorraine is 629 Valley Road, and this is the detailing there. It's got kind of a high contrast stone sill and these little accents next to the red brick. And then further down on Valley, 621 Valley, is a more, a less stark contrast with kind of a gray lintel and the creamy brick. And we chose to kind of go more that route, less stark contrast in color. It shows like a brownish cast stone lintel and sill to go with our red brick. And another detailing choice, as I said, he was previously located in the Saunders Hardware Building. So here's a little blow-up detail of their roof line with corbelling brick and an inset with herringbone. And we decided to just kind of call back to that as like a little. And here's the streetscape. Again, that's the dental office, the parking area, the existing building, and Veggie Heaven, and then what we propose. And there's the rendering.
Thank you. Does that conclude your description?
does,
Okay,
yes.
thanks. Before we open it up for questions, I do want to remind everyone that a variance from the Montclair Code is required to build the third floor addition that extends into the rear yard. And there are but we have to consider that because we have to see how that fits in with the neighborhood. So that would be for our discussion, okay?
I'll pull up the site plan too, which shows the where that setback line is that you're talking about. It's a 20-foot setback that cuts right here. So this portion here requires a variance.
Okay, great, thank you. So we'll open it up now for questions from the commissioners. Jerry, do you have a question? Why don't you start?
Yes, I did want to ask him, and just checking that variance. The back is, currently the first story is non-conforming. So when you add the second story and you add the third story, you need a variance because that'll violate the setback. The setback, is a hypothetical line that extends up. Okay, that's
Right,
the first
correct.
thing. What's the ultimate height measured from the base to the top of the air conditioning units?
Oh, well, to the To the top.
They appear to be above the height of the building.
Yes, that's right. Your building height in the code is measured to the high point of the flat roof, and that's 36 feet.
Right.
And then from there, I've got a 42-inch high, so another 3.5 feet. So 39.5 feet would be to the top of the screen.
Okay, I know this isn't a historical question, but,
No, that's fine.
but will that increased height building cast a shadow of the sun on the properties to the north and east of it,
Let's see if I got a good image.
and west of it?
This image is probably the best. This is just a parking area here. So the sun is here south, so the sun would cast here. We're taller than Veggie Heaven, so in the morning it would cast a shadow on top of just the roof, but no windows for any residents or anything like that. And then in the evening, it'd be coming in this direction, and it's the dental office right here. So let me show a roof plan where that screen is located. The highest point is what you're concerned with, and that's only this area here. That would be at the 39 and a
Okay.
half feet.
The building in back of it, north of it, is that a 2-story or 2.5-story?
The applicant actually was thinking about purchasing that at one point, right? Do you know, we may need to swear him in because he knows a lot about that building, actually.
Okay, Mr. Brennan, we'll swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you're Mr. Rodin, and you're Rodin, and you are the
R-O-D-I-O.
Rodio.
Rodio.
Rodeo, sorry, and you're the owner of the building?
Yes,
This
I am.
current building?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes, I am.
thank you.
And the
So-
question was, is it a 2.5-story building? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the side, because I'm going to ask the building in back of it, or the north of it, and then I'm going to ask to the buildings to the east of it on that side of the street. Are they mostly all 2.5 stories? 2 or 2.5 stories?
It's 2.5.
Yeah.
2.5, both of them.
Well, your image of, looks like, as though the one to the north of it is taller than this, you had an image that I could see.
I can't tell, because there's only an aerial view of the building to the north of it.
The north of it,
Oh, is that a 3-story building then? It's a 3-story building in back of it, okay. So, but the buildings to the west of it is that one building before you get to Valley, and that's I think a 2-story building.
that's a 2-story.
Yeah,
It
right here.
looks like a 2-story building.
Mhm.
And all the buildings, most of the buildings to the east of it on the northern side of Lorraine are 2.5.
Yeah, this is a business, but it looks like a residence, and from here east, it's all residences.
Okay. And then I'm going to ask you something that I have my own view on it, but looking at the design of the building, and looking at it as sort of a description of mass, my question is, does it seem out of proportion to the mass of the other buildings in the immediate area?
Well, I think if you look at the rendering, I think it's not out of proportion with Veggie Heaven. It's certainly not out of proportion with the building right across the street, which was this one, which is a 3-story brick building. That's what you would be looking at from your terrace, would be
Right.
this building.
Right.
The Williams and Sonoma building is nearby. It's not out of proportion from that, certainly. And then there's a gas station. We're at kind of a weird spot on the fringe of the district, I think. And it's kind of like a membrane to the residential. So like, yeah, because you're near residential, it's certainly out of proportion with, you can't see where I'm pointing, anything over here. But not anything right here.
Okay, so the building on the south side is a 3-story apartment building?
Right here, yes.
Okay, and then finally, is this in the central business district? No, I mean, I'm sorry, what I call the central business district of Upper Montclair.
The NC.
It's not
It's the neighborhood commercial district.
neighborhood commercial, okay. Okay, those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you.
What is the building, what is the occupancy of the building just north of your site? It looks like a residential building, but is it offices?
That's this one?
It's an office and 2 apartments.
It's an office and
It's an office and 2 apartments,
above,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the building directly to the east of your parking lot, is
Yeah.
that residential or is that?
It's a dental office.
It's a
Dental
dental
office.
office in the first floor, and there is another office upstairs. There are some accountants,
Okay.
accountant's office. on the
And
third
the
floor.
and the next building over from that is to the east? I'm just trying to understand.
Yes.
The neighborhood a little
I
bit.
believe to the east is now residence,
Okay.
to the east of
So
that one.
it goes from
Past that
here
is
to a house that's
residential.
dental
Yes.
offices to a residential.
Yes.
Do you have any other questions?
I don't have any other questions. I'll have comments, but I don't
Okay.
have questions.
Mr. Rooney?
I don't have any questions.
And Mr. Giuliano?
I think at this time, my only question is, did you consider anything for the third floor in brick as well? Or just, are you trying to kind of visually make the third floor less prominent, and that's why?
Yeah, I
We're
think
going
we
with
wanted
the
something
stucco.
light and airy. There was gonna be
Mhm.
more glass, certainly, on the
Mhm.
part that faces the terrace. It just felt like it needed a different treatment. And I think early on, we decided stucco. Previously, it was all stucco above the first floor, so I think it was a continuation of that a little bit. We did not take any look at doing all brick.
Okay. And then my only other question is just in regards to parking. I know we're very undersized with what the current count is.
Yeah.
You know, with the day-to-day business of the dry cleaner and the alterations, I mean, do you feel like there's enough adequate parking to assume maybe 4 spaces are taken up by the apartments?
Well, that's part of the planning board variance is he is going to have to purchase overnight parking.
Okay.
And we had agreed to that previously. Previously, we were deficient by, I have it here, it's in the drawing set, let me find it. The total required is 15.9 spaces. And because we're doing an EV charging station, we get a credit for 1. So we're proposing 6, but we're really getting credit for 7. So we were asking for a variance last time of 8, and it was approved.
Okay.
And now with this, well, I'm sorry, that 15.9 is what it is now.
Mhm.
Previously, it would have been that minus 1.8, so 14.1 is what we asked for last time.
Okay, but you did get the overnight passes as
I don't
part
think he
of
has
it?
it arranged yet,
Okay,
but yeah.
all
it was
right,
part of
just
the,
curious if it was kind of,
It was a
there was a
condition.
strategy for it.
Yeah.
Those are my only questions at this
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
I have a question about the height. If you go back to the image of the proposed third story, yeah, is it looks very high. Is there a parapet up there to disguise the, to disguise the air conditioning?
Just a short one, not a very tall parapet. It's not like a fall protection parapet.
Because it looks from that angle that it just looks a lot what is the height of the stories? Like if you go from the first story, the second story to the third, and then the proposed third to the roof just seems abnormal, it looks higher. Or is that just
It
the
is
rendering?
It is a higher ceiling on that third floor.
Oh, a higher ceiling.
So it's a 8-foot ceiling, I believe, here, and I think it was 9.6. 9.6 to here. It steps up a little bit from the terrace too, so that's adding another 8 inches.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Like you can see right here, that the finished floor level is a little higher than the terrace level. And then you add to that another 9'6" for the
I think
ceiling.
that goes to a question of massing and whether or not that, you would consider bringing that ceiling level down so that it's not as high.
Sure. I think when you look at this, I see what you're saying, that it looks high.
Yes.
But remember, you won't see it like this. You'll see it more like this in the rendering and right here. And so lowering that, we could lower the ceiling height on there a little bit, but it just makes that stucco band narrower. And I think to my eye, proportionally, I don't like it as much, but
Mm-hmm.
it could be done.
I just questioned, because the question again about massing and how it looks too overscaled compared to what I mean, that also, the color makes it stand out as well. That's lighter in a way that sort of blends more into the sky, the sky. But
Sure.
it just looks as though the stories don't, line up. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? No? Any questions from the audience? And if not, we'll go to, before we have our comments. Okay, Ms. Alexi, do you want to go over the report that,
Sure. There's a lot to note in this. I think the main issue or main question is what of the original building is still remaining? Because it's not abundantly clear in the renderings on either the street facade or the west facade what's original. You're proposing a new red brick. The storefront looks very different. So, it's a question of, is this actually an addition or is this new construction, I think is kind of the gist of the main comments in the report.
Right. Yeah, so what remains, the storefront's being removed, and because we're infilling the alley right here, this portion of the brick corner has to be removed, but this portion of the brick can stay, which wraps a little bit around the corner. Though this pitched roof is going, so really if you look at this, what's existing in four elements, 1 being that, 2 being that, 3 being the storefront, and 4 being the roof, only 1 really remains visually, because just out of necessity, out of practicality. But if you were to look at an existing side elevation, which is not in the presentation, but it's probably in the drawings here, let me see. Existing side elevation would be on the fourth page of your set, detail 5. If you can see that with the Moline Kronberg sign, the large sign I was talking about, that's 40 square feet. That whole side is stucco, and that massing all remains, but we were removing the stucco and doing brick instead.
So the brick pier in the southwestern corner of the storefront is remaining, effectively,
Yeah.
at street level.
Right here, we're
But
trying
that
to-
brick pier currently is not red brick.
no, I think it,
Yeah, it's red.
Yeah.
So the idea for then the entire additional red brick is to match that brick pier?
Right.
Okay. Again, with additions, you want to not overwhelm the original. They've obviously made efforts to set back the third floor. I think due to the fact that there's a parking lot immediately adjacent to this, the third floor addition is far more visible than it would normally be if there was a building immediately next to it. And I think, however, I will say that it is certainly an upgrade from what was previously presented a year ago. And I think what is noted in Stephen's report is there is a nice respect to the commercial storefront streetscape with the 2 stories, with the setback. It certainly reads as a commercial building, which is appropriate for the area, given the corner is a commercial area. I think the comments about how is it in terms of massing versus the other properties are appropriate. There are, as the applicant noted, there are 3 and 4-story buildings immediately in the vicinity. So while it is a large addition in relation to the original building, it is fairly appropriate to the massing of the adjacent buildings.
thank you. So we'll start with comments now.
Can I get one other question?
Sure.
Why did you add the third floor?
So
I'm sorry, why did you add the third floor?
He liked seeing you guys.
there might be an opportunity for me to move up there. Not sure, but it might be an opportunity, in the near future.
Okay, was it an economic reason, that is, that you needed to get an added space to make the whole project viable?
It was more viable also, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Nick? What's your comment?
I mean, I think the overall building design is very handsome. I think it's a lot better than the first version. I think the brickwork is really well done on the first and the second floor, with the cornice detailing and the inlaid herringbone pattern. The window pattern looks appropriate to the neighborhood. I don't have a problem with the third story per se. I mean, it's within the height conformance of the ordinance, but it is massing that's falling within the rear yard setback ordinance. But also there is parking right next to it. There's not going to be another, one-story or two-story building that it's shadowing over. Although in the back there is, behind it. So, I mean, I don't love the third story on it, but I think the pros outweigh the cons on it. And I think there's a lot of effort here to make it a little more consistent with the neighborhood. So I think I'd overall be in support of it.
Thank you. Mr. Rooney?
I don't have any problems with the third floor on there because it's in that district where things are 2 and 3 stories. Although that's a definite end to the district. I like what you did with the brick on the front, with the corbelling at the top and the herringbone to match what was going on across the street. I think it's going to work.
Thank you. Mr. Remnitz?
I also think the first 2 floors is a great improvement over what was there before. The rendering really sells that. However, and I don't have a problem conceptually of putting a 3rd floor on this, but I've seen enough of these just plain boxes dropped on historical buildings around town. They look awful at the end of the day. It's all just stucco. And I get the window detail of this, that, but additionally, I mean, we're looking at it from the street. If I'm reading this right, the north elevation is 3 floors of stucco with no windows.
Right, it's not allowed to have windows, yeah. The 3 that are on the first floor are non-conforming, I think.
Because you're within 6 feet or something of the property line.
Right. Yeah, so we had to be careful even about the windows we proposed on the west elevation here. Let's see. Even those, you can barely see them in this, but these windows, because of the distance from the property line, had to be a certain size, so they're
Right.
smaller than we would have liked.
Right.
But you're right that the rear is.
But you're massing this building, you're building that back wall, you're building this all new, right? So you picked it to be 2'9" off of the property line.
No, that's existing.
It's existing, is
Yeah.
existing?
Yeah, this is the existing plane, and it's just going up.
I see.
Well, how visible is that from
The
the
existing is just,
Do you have the
public right-of-way?
on your drawing set? Do you have the image that shows
yeah,
this?
yeah.
There you can really see the building in question that we were talking about to the north. There's quite a bit of a side yard there. There's a fence that does not belong to the applicant. It belongs to that property. And I think there's trees. I shouldn't say that. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, he has trees.
He has trees there screening.
Do you have a photo of of the visibility from Valley Road?
I'll just,
No, right?
No.
I'm just wondering how visible it is from Valley Road. To your point, John.
Yeah, my comment is just about so you can't put in windows, but you certainly don't have to have all stucco either.
Sure.
A 40-foot high stucco wall that is, I don't know, whatever wide by 40 feet, it's all stucco.
Yeah.
I understand the windows things, but
Mhm.
I realize it's sort of off of Valley Road, so it's hard to see, and it's a little bit around one building, so it's hard to see. So I'm not overly, I didn't realize you couldn't put windows there. I'm not too concerned about that facade. I'm more concerned about what you see in your rendering. Right, yeah, go back to there.
Yeah.
That stucco block just sort of dropped on there. And you did such a great job on the first 2 floors, it's like, perhaps a little bit more effort in terms of.
Yeah, I wonder if
Maybe
just
we
the
want to see
angle
the
of this
third
is.
story in brick.
What?
Maybe we want to see the third story in brick.
Yeah.
Or at least
yeah.
half brick.
Here's I'm sorry, yeah.
I mean, all the other third-story buildings, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Oh, that's
Go
okay.
ahead. All the other 3-story buildings are brick buildings. They have windows, and they have cornices, and they have whatever. The massing is 3 stories, but, it's, again, I've seen too many of these buildings around where these boxes have just been dropped on
What do
top.
they call them?
And it's.
Ghost stories.
Yeah, it's, if it was set back, but you don't have room to set it back from that facade, it's. So that's my basic.
And I
A
agree.
little more effort on the top floor.
I agree. I think if it was brick with maybe just a stucco back wall, all stucco all the way to the 3rd floor, it would fit in more with the neighborhood. And also to reduce the height a little. I think it's just, the massing is too much for the top, where it looks really beautiful on the 1st and 2nd floor. You did a great job. So that would be my comment. And I just I think you'd have to come back for the signage, right, Sanab? This isn't an approval for signage.
I don't believe so.
Well, the signage will be a variance with the planning board.
Okay.
Right, and then we were approved for the sign variance last time. There's no change to what we were approved, so.
It's the same? The
Yeah.
signage is the same?
Exactly the same.
Oh, I thought
Okay.
I thought it changed.
Well,
Okay.
it did, sorry, I think as part of the planning board comments, we had to reduce the parking lot facing one to 8 square feet. I remember that. I think we proposed like 21 square feet or something, so that oval just shrunk. And that was, I think it's in the, resolution.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so you don't have to come back for signage then?
No,
Okay,
just a
you
sign
just have
permit.
the one sign on the front, that oval sign, and then the lighting is, what is the lighting? Almost, like
These-
gooseneck lighting over?
Yep, these right here,
I see.
LED
And then that long,
wall sconce.
Yeah.
That is on either of the brick piers on the front facade, right here.
Okay.
The laser, right here and right here.
well, my comment, again, is that I think it's a vast improvement from last time. But as what you've heard up here, excuse me, so I don't know what Mr. Sweeney's going to say, but I find that the 3rd floor box on the top it just doesn't fit in with it at all. I mean, it's not as detailed, or it just looks like a big box.
Yeah, I would just say, I don't think we have a problem with adding the 3rd floor.
Yeah,
Just make it look like it belongs.
Yeah.
okay.
You
Add
ready?
some
Yes,
detail.
go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, first on a general, not a historic comment. I think 2/3 of your building is beautiful and is really historic. It adds to the neighborhood, and and I think it actually adds to the historic character of it. The addition on the 3rd floor, and it may be a combination of pattern, but I think for me, it adds too much mass. It's too high, it's too bland, it's too unhistoric, and I think it has some negative impact on the neighborhood too. But most of all, from the historic preservation, I would say you got an A+ on the first 2 floors, and I actually love the deck on the 3rd floor, but the add-on box on the top just doesn't contribute to the historic character, and it's, in my view, too large a mass and not consistent with the character, at least of that side of the street, which is essentially a 2.5-story, looking like residential type buildings.
Okay, so I think we're all in agreement about the variance for the 3rd floor dwelling space has no impact on the historic character, but the definition, what you do up there needs to be reworked.
I'm sorry, I missed that last sentence.
What the detail, we suggested to encase it in brick and make it all brick as opposed to the stucco.
Okay.
Or come back with, something that's just not a flat stucco wall.
Right.
That's
Okay.
what's a little difficult.
I mean, I feel like we're not doing flat stucco. I don't know if the rendering is doing justice to have this. We are insetting it. It's 4 inches and doing beveled in 4 directions with not a lintel, but the flange casting shadows. This is a knife's edge here with bevels from 3 directions. So I don't agree
I
that
got
it's
it.
a block, but I know what you mean.
But you only have 3 windows on the up high on the parking lot side, right? Is that right? Am I looking, did I see that? Yeah, 3 windows on the parking lot side. The other windows you can't see from the street. I appreciate you're doing it, but it doesn't really add to, I just did a little sight line from across the street. If you were standing there,
Yeah.
could you see this? You can't.
Yeah.
Where you see it is exactly that rendering. So I get those 3 windows have that detail, but
Okay.
would that stucco have joints in it?
We didn't show any. No.
Okay, it doesn't need joints.
Uh,
I'm just,
What
they
about
seem to
reducing-
appear after,
I see. Yeah.
What about reducing the height of it, the height of the addition on the top, the 3rd floor?
well, I don't know what the ceiling height is. That's a question.
Well, you could also put a cornice.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of adding more detail.
It's adding
I don't think we
detail.
should design it.
I'm not gonna
per
design
se,
it.
but-
Give us an idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you have our comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, before we go to our next application, thank you very much. They really came out.
Thanks.
Thank you for,
it's moving in the right direction.
yes, and really taking our recommendations from the last time. Well, I think it looks great.
And improving 2/3 of the building.
I thought it looked good.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next application, I'd like to open up the meeting to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come up and address the commission? Good evening, Mr. D'Amato.
Hi there. Very quickly,
And keep your comments brief, okay?
less than 3 minutes.
Good.
Eric D'Amato, I'm the First Ward Counselor. It was fascinating to watch this. I just wanted to quickly stop by and say hi. First of all, I'm angling to be the liaison from the council to this, to the commission, so hopefully that will happen, and I will see you more. I also just wanted to say that Chair Bennett and I were at a meeting yesterday at the library. We are all, a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders in the world of the library are working very feverishly right now on a sort of unusual grant opportunity, which has a very tight window that's coming up in June, and it involves some reworking, reimagining of the plans that people may know from 2019 and 2020, the so-called Berman Plan, to have improvements to both the main library and the Bellevue branch, and including an expansion at the Bellevue branch. There were renderings that were done back then that history has passed by, and most people, if they see them, think they're a little jarring. And it's a very truncated process that's going on. But I just wanted to come and for obvious reasons, say that this is happening, and that anybody here should be reaching out to Director Ali, to Planner Talley, to Chair Bennett, myself, all these people who are involved, to just be involved in the process, but knowing that it is a staged process where there will be very, very preliminary drawings and lists of values that are put in to the Economic Development Authority in Trenton with the hope of getting a very large chunk of tax credits. It's speculative, but it does touch on historic buildings, and it will be done in a way that is respectful to these buildings, but it is a slightly different process. That's all. So you can talk with the chair about this.
Thank you, and thank you for
Thanks.
introducing yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Nice
and
meeting
sorry
you.
if I made you change your timeline. I'm single parenting this week, so
Oh.
couldn't come. I'll sit-
You're only an hour late this time.
What?
You're only an hour late. Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
So there's additions being proposed to the libraries, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I did, so I was at a meeting yesterday, and remember when we looked at the
Yes.
the
Plaza.
plaza? So that now has taken on another life of incorporating major changes to both the main library and the and the Bellevue Avenue Library. The plaza is still involved, but what they want to do is try to go after this grant, which is federal, I guess, state and federal money, and they want to revisit the idea for the Bellevue Avenue, which is where we would be able to comment, the plaza, and then the rear. I don't know if you remembered what those plans were from 2017?
No.
But they were, people we didn't review it because it never got to that point. But the people that saw it informally before the formal review did not like it because it was a big glass box that was off the back. So they want to enlarge the library, make it ADA accessible because there's no elevator there. And that's really the main thrust of this. And rather than have it come right off the back of the building like this, like a big block, they're proposing like an L shape. But this is all in the conceptual stage. No final plans have been drawn up. There's a lot of moving pieces that need to be fit in. And
Okay.
so when
Wish
the
you luck.
next, the next meeting is, I don't know, am I correct in that, Mr. D'Amato? My analysis of what, yes. And when is the deadline that this all has, the project, this grant? I mean, it's really quite tight.
From what I understand, it would be about 90 days from now that we would have to submit very, very rough plans. The plans that were made in 2019 for the main branch, for the main building, are much more, would stay, but a lot of the internal proposals for the fit-out and all that internal that's literally changed in 5 years because the way libraries are used has changed in 5 years. But it would be June, and then they would be meeting on the merits of the thing, which are not about the design, but about the cultural contribution, and then the very particular and arcane financing mechanisms and these other things. I believe in September, they would make a determination, and then after that, there would be a phase. But we would know probably before September if we're in good shape. And I can tell you right now that we would be making an investment in the library and the foundation if they are, over the next days and weeks, comfortable. They are going to have to make a commitment of some money to get this done. And then we will discover whether or not it's a compelling application to the state, and then we will hustle to tighten it up, in which case I believe that the HPC would have to be intimately involved. But if you do see these, I'm not telling you to not go look at them. Go look at this thing, and we could circulate it, and you should know where we're starting from, and just not to be alarmed that that's the end point, because I don't think any of the stakeholders believe it is the end point.
Okay,
Thanks.
great, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. So keep us in the loop. Good night. Okay. We'll just take a 5-minute break, please.
Think about that.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you for being so patient. Now we're on to application 2923, 140 Chestnut Street. This is a zoning board referral. If you would come forward, please, who's ever going to speak to the project and testify. So this house is a great, while you're settling in, I'll just give a little bit of a historic background. Has a great history to it. It was identified as a potential resource in preservation Montclair. The 1981 survey form states that the single-family home was originally constructed in 1910 and served as the office of Montclair architect Dudley Van Antwerp. The building was originally constructed at 44 Church Street and was relocated to 140 Chestnut Street, or as they say in the, or James Street, which is in the Montclair Times article, in 1920, where it served as a residence for the Van Antwerp family. So, and this is important. While no property records show the date that the garage was built, the survey forms show it is not in the period of significance for this home. The garage is not represented in the 1933 Atlas of Montclair and surrounding towns. There is no mention of the garage in the 1981 Preservation Montclair survey form. The house is identified as a historic resource due to its historic features and the construction by the architect Dudley Van Antwerp. The area surrounding 140 Chestnut Street is not identified as a potential historic resource. Therefore, demolishing the garage would have no impact on the historic character of the neighborhood or surrounding area. And I'd like to mention that this demolition was granted an expedited demolition because of the fact that the garage was deemed not historic. And our historic preservation officer, she and I spoke about it, and she was the one that gave the approval for the demolition. So that's the reason it didn't come before the entire board. Because if it was historic, if it did date to the time of the house, you would have had to come to get approval for the demolition. So knowing that the demolition of the garage has been approved, you're going forward with that. And what we're going to do tonight is look at the plans that you have for the structure. And so you saw how we do it. Somebody speaks to the application, and we ask questions, and then we have a commentary. So if you would identify yourselves, and I'll swear you in.
I'm Joanna Seltzer.
What's that?
I'm Joanna Seltzer, the homeowner.
Okay.
I'm Darren Rogers from Wine Oak Builders. I'm the builder.
Oh, nice to meet you. Okay. So just raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in terms of this application?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Seltzer and Mr.
Rogers.
Rogers, great. So do you have is that what's up now? Yes. Okay, do you want to speak about the application and the building?
Sure.
Do you want to go up to the computer? There's a handheld mic.
Okay. I feel like I'm doing improv right now. So I just want to introduce our relationship to the town. Also, we both grew up here. We went to the high school. We attended Glenfield, Hillside, Nishuane. I purchased the home in 2019. I grew up on Fairfield Street, which also had a home by this architect a couple houses over from me. I was fully aware when I purchased the home of what any restrictions or limitations would be should we need a renovation. I do have two children one will be starting middle school, they'll both be attending the high school. So much of the renovation plans are with that in mind, that when I moved here with them, they were 4 and 6. And so we could have them in a bunk bed. And it wasn't a big deal that this was a 950 square foot house with small children. now with a son who's almost as tall as me, starting middle school soon, et cetera, and both kids being in the high school, we do want to make sure that the home can fit everybody, as well as some of the overflow that happens on Chestnut Street coming in and out of the high school, et cetera. So as you can see, I believe, the actual property itself is 950 square feet in total. We did have to renovate and waterproof the basement when we moved in. Our primary goal, knowing that we cannot go up because of the historic nature of the property, our primary goal was to retain as much of the essence of the home. And so knowing that we can't go up, but we also can't go too back because of the way the land is shaped, and we also can't go too much to the side because of our neighbors, we were trying to maximize where we could fit an additional bedroom or bathroom and try to keep this as low as possible, and not having any bedrooms or any meaningful real estate that would be in any way kind of like resembling a second floor, so that we could keep just like the bungalow nature of the home. There is here, I don't know if I can I zoom in? Okay. Over here, where there is a side porch, here, it's a little bit hard. I think you can see it better on this one. There is a bay window here that the consultant mentioned. This bay window, as much as would be great to keep it, it's very hard because that side porch is one of the only ways architecturally that we can push the house out instead of going back or encroaching onto the other neighbor. So utilizing this area of the side porch and pushing out so that we can fit in an additional bedroom was one of the ways that we tried to work around the nature of the property and kind of the slope in the back. We don't want to, have to push even more into the back that is going to make the variance even worse. So we're trying to utilize the pre-existing porch here so that we can cover that up. Before I go to the next, do you have any? Okay, I'm doing it. And then you can see here, let's see, in the proposal that we're working to bring the garage up, and part of that reasoning is so that we can have more backyard, given having children and everything and being able to access the backyard. And the total height of this kind of extra multifunction could be an office space, working from home, et cetera, on top of the garage, more of a loft space. It is no more than 1 foot 7 inches taller than the roof peak of the existing home. So this part here, that's designed to be kind of like a multi-purpose loft space, is 1 foot 7 inches taller than the roof peak of the existing home. So that was very intentional design by the architect to make sure that it was basically as short as possible so that you could stand up in there, but that it wasn't egregiously overpowering, kind of like the one-story, low-level, one-floor nature that is sort of the essence of the home. And there was also an intentional limited roof height so that it was pushed back 21 feet, and the height of the garage is 33 feet back, so that the actual bungalow part of the house is what is the most forward-facing to the street, because we have the garage 33 feet back from the original facade and original front-facing part of the home. Is that a double garage, double car garage? Yes, but in a tight capacity. Yes, but in not like a generous capacity.
Yeah, the garage is more of a one-car garage.
Oh, okay. So it's like a 1.5 car garage.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out what okay. All right, so we'll ask questions now.
Okay.
All right, so do you want to start?
Yeah, this is not intended as humor, but 1.5 car garage, yeah, you describe that, how is that? Is that width, is that height, or is that length?
I mean, we're trying to be mindful not to encroach, because already we have a variance for the back.
Right.
So, like, at a certain point, we're just trying to be mindful, like, to not have a million variances.
Okay, so the main project, you're just trying to add on space, you can have an office it did seem unduly restricted, what you said is the height, but that appears to be a decision by your architect. But the character, the external appearance of the house will look similar and of the same material as the main house?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll blend in and it'll be just closer, the garage won't be set back the same way. Okay, that's the only question I have. It's pretty simple.
All right, fine. Mr. Rodio?
I don't have any questions, but I'll have comments.
Mr. Rooney?
No questions.
And Mr. Giuliani?
I just have one. I don't know if this is more for your architect, but I was just curious if there was any consideration at any point to have the flex space be behind the garage addition versus on top of it.
Primarily, it had to do with trying to preserve the backyard, because the way that the backyard is angled, it's this weird L shape. So like the farther back we went with the actual home, it would like reduce the footprint of, what we could have available for the backyard.
Question.
Yeah.
Doesn't the existing garage sit at a location that you're just saying you need? Is that it? You're trying to...
Well, yeah, because we've lived there for 5 years now, so because that structure is there, the backyard is not utilized in the way.
You can't access it.
Yeah.
But if, as Nick says, you put that office space behind the garage, you wouldn't go farther than where that existing garage is.
Sure.
Okay, this is a question.
Yeah. I think, again, they were just trying to be mindful, so that the idea of having, kids coming home from high school, being in the backyard and being able to fully utilize it, since it's only been partially utilized in the way that the current layout is now, I think was a motivation for them to kind of open up the backyard space a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'm also aware there was one other motivation to that, in that by shifting, I'll call it the garage component of the structure toward the street, it basically kept us below the threshold that would have triggered the kind of stormwater runoff mitigation, which is a hot topic in any sort of addition nowadays. So by reducing the amount of impervious coverage that currently exists, like the driveway that leads up to the garage, by basically building the addition atop a portion of that, we're basically able to avoid that issue altogether.
Would you be over impervious coverage or just over the threshold
We
at
would be,
which you need
well,
a
we'd be
civil
over the
plan?
250 square foot
Okay.
allowance for disturbance of impervious.
But you could still be under the impervious
Correct.
maximum. Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So I think, and then, whereas right now, the garage and the way that it sits on the property, given, as Joanna said, the kind of, I'll call it that inside corner, that kind of L-shaped nature, we're actually improving a kind of a rear yard setback. So it ends up making the structure, more compact, with the benefit of a better designed rear yard.
Yeah, and just for context, obviously the home was 950 square feet when we purchased it, but we purchased it in the fall, winter of 2019. So it was having to navigate the pandemic and working from home without any flex space at all, that, really became incorporated into the plans as they were evolving, because we were just seeing the reality of what happens if everyone's home at the same time, or, how do you kind of squirrel away or find those spaces. And there's kind of an open layout now, and it's all very, everyone is, you can hear everything, and it's harder to navigate without that flexible space to utilize.
So I have a question. Did you know the significance of this house before you bought it? Or did you? Oh, you did? Okay. So I have to say thank you for being aware of that and trying to work within the scope of that, because I think this house stands out on Chestnut Street in the smallness of it, the bungalow quality of it. So I'm so happy you didn't consider going, expanding up. Okay, so having said that, and my next question is, and I think somebody asked that, oh, Jerry, you did. What is the existing house is Cedar Shakes now?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and that's what the proposed addition will be, the same as the existing house?
Yeah, right now, while that detail's not 100% finalized, we are looking for something consistent with that, whether it is cedar shake, whether it is clapboard of a similar reveal, whether it is a composite shake. That's something that we are discussing, truth be told. It's more of probably a kind of cost consideration, but it will be in line with what is there. Like, it will not be stucco, will not be brick, will not be, board and batten. It will be consistent with the house.
Okay. So we give recommendations, and then this goes to the zoning board. All right. And then we were just given this, so we didn't get a chance to look at this. What could you just describe what this is? Explain what this is?
So my understanding was we mentioned the idea of the demolition of the existing garage, which is, I'll call it structurally unsound, as are many of the old garages in Montclair. So we were prepared initially to kind of pursue the approval for just the demolition of the structure. And at that time, we said, well, the cost to rebuild the garage in its current place compared to the project that Joanna is looking to pursue, that to kind of, what you have is kind of a rough estimate to kind of build a 2-car garage on her property, which we were requested to kind of provide as a point of almost like not economic hardship, but like, hey, we're not going to do that to get going. We're going to submit that as just a point of reference, knowing that we're actually going to pursue the project that you have the drawings for.
Yeah, I think it was when we initially submitted, the low impact of the garage was not known at that point. And so making sure that you had all the information to be able to incorporate into your decisions and recommendations, that the demolition of the garage in and of itself, and to just simply replace it where it was is estimated to cost this much.
So we don't have to be concerned with this right now? Okay, I just want
I
to...
think they're just saying they did some research.
Right.
On what it was going to cost.
Right.
Okay.
It was just an additional documentation for the demolition report.
Okay, got it. All right. So with that, any other questions, commissioners, before we ask Alexi to go over Mr. Smollin's report? Okay.
Sure. I'll just read some highlights from Stephen's report, as I think Kathleen did an excellent job kind of describing the property and its significance, but I would say the subject structure, historic character is defined by consistent materials and complementary roof profile, making it a contributing element to the property during the period of significance, 1912 to 1934, coinciding with Antwerp's involvement with the property. The applicant describes the subject garage structure as ruinous, while the planning report deems it beyond repair and structurally unsound. Photos submitted showed significant facade racking and sagging roof ridgeline, indicative of a likely foundation failure or settling. Additionally, poorly executed executed past repairs, and a deteriorated garage door and need a replacement further highlight the subject's garage structure's poor condition. Moving on to the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. For this, the following apply, which would be standard 4, 5, and 9. Standard 4, most properties change over time. Those changes that have acquired historic significance in their own right shall be retained and preserved. Standard 5 reads distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize a historic property shall be preserved. And standard number 9, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work should be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with historic materials, features, size, scale, proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. Moving on to his comments on the last page. Primarily, again, concerning the addition, as I feel the garage is pretty much agreed upon must go. The proposed addition is partially compatible with the existing main house. The use of wood siding aligns with the historic exterior cladding. However, its two-story height and massing overwhelm the scale of the single-story main house, making it visually dominant rather than subordinate. And then the proposed addition is adequately differentiated due to its placement and connection to the main house. However, the applicant should clarify whether reversibility was considered to allow future removal and potential restoration. The removal of an original bay window on the east elevation results in a loss of historic fabric, though I will add that bay windows' visibility is fairly limited from the street. Two other comments I would like to add is that the roof plans show 2 skylights that face the street in the new area of addition, but they are not shown on any of the renderings or the elevations. And as a general comment, I feel the roof lines overall are a bit tricky, partially due to the original structure, but also due to the addition. In particular, the garage has an additional bracketed overhang above it. I feel kind of adds to the fact that the garage is a little bit more dominant than I believe the Secretary of Interior standards would prefer. And that's it.
That's the one, the bracketed
Bracket
overhang.
Yeah,
is
the white
is a-
bracket directly over the
across
garage
the
door. Yes,
Okay.
as opposed to just continuing maybe the roof line as it is on the original structure.
Okay,
I'm
thank
happy
you.
to remove the bracket. I mean, I think they added the bracket to pull into details from that era. It's not needed structurally, but I think that that was the original intent, was to kind of pull in different architectural styles from that time to keep it consistent, but it's not relevant one way or the other.
To maintain.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Dick, do you want to start with comments, please?
Sure. I mean, overall, I feel like it's a fairly strong proposal for the existing house. I mean, I can appreciate what you're trying to do by not making it a one-story addition with 2 rooms back to back. You know, if you're removing the existing garage, it does kind of cut off the rest of your backyard from the back part of what would be the kitchen. And, you know, if you're making an investment like this, you want to improve your condition. So, you know, appreciative of that. I can see why you want to do it. I think the overall massing, you know, to me, it doesn't really appear as an overbearing 2-story addition from the street. I think the architect did a lot of good work with the roof line design to make it match with the main house. I do think eliminating that roof overhang at the garage door would help a lot. You know, we're not here to design the house for you, but if you just kind of continued the main roof over the garage, you know, to be like a deep 3 or 4 foot overhang, it would kind of be more in keeping with the front of the house that has that deep overhang at the portico, you know, and it would be less vertical wall that you're seeing on that addition on that side of the house. So it would probably make it look a little bit more subordinate to the existing house if, you know, if it was just more roof that you were seeing and less kind of almost 1.5 stories of vertical wall at the garage door wall. But, you know, overall, I think it's well done. I'd be supportive of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the bracket detracts, but it also, reason it's there is to make that wall look less imposing. So if you just naturally let the roof come down and match up at the end with whatever this room is at the corner. That's a bedroom. Okay. I think that it would benefit the building itself.
Okay, when I look at this house, what I see is a lot of roof.
Mm-hmm.
What are the elements you see? Okay, so I would tend, I know the kind of space you're trying to create above the garage, but I would tend to get rid of that clear story, so it's just roof above. And put the clear story in the back and the windows on the side, but get rid of that so you're just reading roof like you're reading the rest of the house. And I agree with Steve to bring the roof of the garage down and, I don't know, bracket off, I think some brackets off that side wall would break that up a little bit, but I would get rid of the little, I don't know what you would call this. What do you call that? Brackets?
It's just a
Little
bracket.
Roof
Yeah.
above I would
Yeah.
get rid of that. And if there was, the one roof that's not the same slope as all the other roofs is the one over the bedroom. It's because you're trying to scale and go all the way to the back. I got it. So it's too bad you lose the corner of that, what's the room there? Oh,
Bedroom.
the bedroom number 3. The existing roof over what will be the bedroom number 3. If somehow you could deal with that connection, you're tight for space. There's probably no.
Mhm.
You're tight in the back. I have a question. 99. So you need 20, so the rear yard setback is 25% of your 9918 dimension on the side, I see. And you're going down to 17, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a little bit like a Rubrik's,
Yeah.
a Rubrik cube,
No, I
Tetris
got
kind of
it.
situation, because
I
we
see
weren't
that.
trying to, we couldn't go up, we couldn't go too far to the neighbor, we couldn't go too far to the back, so that's where some of that,
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think I think in general, you guys did a good job. What is the height of the garage doors and the door into the house? Do you know what that is? I mean, it'd be helpful if the garage doors were taller.
Okay.
That door into the house, I think that would break down that sort of wall space above it to the roof. That you just make it smaller.
Okay.
Scale it down a little bit.
okay.
Those are my comments.
Because I think I mean, we could definitely check on the height of the garage door. I think part of it was the height of the garage door is to some degree limited by the fact that we do have that additional space above the garage. And if we were to extend that roof toward the street, as we were talking about, the other thing that would occur is we're going to start to shadow out the windows into that bedroom number 3. So in the way that it is set back, like this, the kind of fascia of that area, like the bracket, yeah, that, I understand what that is architecturally or visually can be adjusted. But I do think it was there to kind of break up would have been just a lot of solid wall above that door that would probably look,
I'm not suggesting you bring the roof down below any further than where you show the bracket right now. If you just extended that roof to the same line as where that bracket is now,
Okay,
you're not.
got it.
Yeah,
impacting
that lines up with the window.
Okay,
And I'm just trying to break down the scale of that space above.
Right above the door.
To the roof.
Understood.
It's not a blank wall. That's sort of, I tend to look at these things, what are the strong elements of the existing house? How can you just use those?
Right, embellish
Not add
and
new
keep it,
things.
yeah.
So Those
Got
were
it.
comments.
So by pulling the roof down a little bit on the garage side, it would be a little bit more visually in line with the roof line.
Yeah. and,
Adjacent
yeah, just
on-
make it
over
all
that.
the sa- Those are,
Yeah.
you've got, it looks like the slope of the garage roof
Mm-hmm.
is the same slope as the rest of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that would match up. The dormer's a new element. I would tend to accentuate the roofs. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have a I don't know if I misheard, but our consultant, did you talk about skylights or,
Yeah.
Yes, there's two skylights shown on the roof plan.
but where?
You can't, because the roof is so shallow,
Where are they?
right there.
Oh. On the, is
You
that
can't
the,
see, they're like this, right?
Yeah, I think I think you don't really see them because you wouldn't see them, if that makes sense, because the problem is that, and having lived there for, a certain number of years already, there is a darkness within the house, which is why so many people opt for skylights, right? But there is a darkness that will only get darker, kind of like right in the middle epicenter, and so that is where some of that idea to have
Solar tubes.
a skylight would just help to bring, it's hard to, I guess, it would be, it's hard to, it's like, there's a darkness kind of like in this general area, that was the idea for.
I believe that the skylights are above the bathroom, correct? And the hallway between the living room and kitchen?
Oh, yeah, Darren is gonna pull it up. Yeah, because where the kitchen is gonna be is gonna end up having a lot of darkness on one part of it. And the same thing for the bathroom, there's no window in there, so it was to supplement that, so there's at least some natural light.
Adding one skylight would bring light into that new bath that's kind of trapped in the center of that area, and then other one would bring light into the hallway.
Yeah, because the issue here is that with the garage here, that is eating up that light coming into the side, so that's why we were trying to get light just coming down in that direction, since the garage.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see it at all until.
Certainly, but if you could you scroll down to the rendering that's at the bottom of that same drawing? Keep going to the actual, the rendering. Right, and then if you zoom in, I would still believe that those skylights would be visible on that roof right there.
Yeah.
No, because they would actually be on the other side.
They're on the other
They
slope.
would be on the other side of the.
That's not the way they're
They're on
drawn.
the other side of there.
Yeah, they would be on that face. But yeah, I think one would be mostly concealed by this.
The way the
Yeah.
roof plan is drawn, the ridge is that ridge, and the skylights are on
Right,
this
or on the
side.
drive, or on the street side of that
Yeah.
ridge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, that, the
They
plan
haven't
here
drawn-
looks like a
They have
flat
a dr-
roof.
They haven't drawn them in yet.
So this is the
Not on the
ridge.
elevations.
Can those be
Oh,
moved
so
to the other
it's so
ridge?
flat that, okay.
Yeah, I'm
On the other side of the ridge?
Yeah, I
Oh,
can
okay.
definitely speak with the architect to confirm.
Okay, so we're making notes here, so, okay. So I have a question, getting back to this garage and the garage door. Is it, what size is it, honestly? What is it?
Well, do you have just 8-foot clearance inside the garage? What's from the garage floor to the ceiling? How much do you have? Do you know?
I don't know, but I
We don't have a section or anything on it.
I mean, if we
Probably
can
around 12.
determine, I'm happy to get you that information.
For some reason, I've been involved in a lot of garages lately. Right? So I know you can get tracks that sit very tight to the ceiling.
Yeah.
So if you have an 8-foot high space in your garage, you can come down just really with the track 6 inches, so that you could get a door in there that's more on the order of 7'6" almost, as opposed to 6'8". I'm just trying to elevate that a little bit. So whether, I don't know whether you can or not, it's a suggestion just to try to raise that.
No, but I think it's a good suggestion, because it really
Suggestion.
changes.
They're all good
It's great, it's a
suggestions.
great suggestion. It changes that whole blank area. And is this they're not doors then, it'll be a, what do you call that, John?
Overhead.
Yes, thank you. It's an overhead?
Yeah, it would be an overhead.
I have a comment. We're not supposed to talk about color or whatever.
No,
I would tend to change either the material or the color of the doors, so it's not just one big white blob.
well, that's what,
You
that's,
tend to be
right.
attracted to this.
right, that's why I
Maybe
couldn't.
you could tone that down. That
Right.
also helps.
Right.
Yeah, I think we're flexible because we understand,
Yeah, we
historic input. So again, there are certain things that would be a design requirement, like an extra bedroom or like a bigger kitchen, et cetera. But how it's done and your input to figure out, what would be most in keeping, is part of the process.
That comment is just to sort of, again, reduce the scale.
Right.
Because your eye tends to be attracted to the whatever big white blob
Yeah.
against all the rest of the blue
Yeah.
there, so.
The
The suggestion.
Yeah,
In
I
terms
understand.
of-
I'm not as versed as you are in this era of architecture and the style, so, we are open to like considering different options based on like what is most in keeping, of what would make sense from that time.
But we're still on comments. Do you have any?
What? No, I don't have any more comments.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, I think first, as to the garage, it should be torn down. I support that. As to the redesign, the question I would have is the same thing as approached here. What is the interior height of the garage? And if you can reduce that, can you reduce the level of the house? My concern is I view it as a bungalow-style house. With the connection addition, it almost converts to a ranch style. Not quite ranch, but it's equivalent. So, but I think if you had the height just a little lower, but you gotta have useful space up above, then, that would be a more consistent with the historical character of a bungalow with a garage connected. So, other than that, I think it's appropriate. I don't have the kind of comments that some of the people that deal with architectural matters regularly have, but I think it maintains the overall historic character. So I'm basically comfortable. I just would like that little bit lower height, just.
Yeah, so right now, based on the elevation marks that they have, the lower level of the garage would have approximately an 8-foot ceiling. The
Is
upper
there a
level.
minimum size interior
Well, it's
height
gotta
for the
be-
ceiling by code?
It's, habitable space is 7 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, but garage is not considered habitable space. So the garage you could drop down the level, you could gain a foot, make it 7 feet in there, but that means those doors.
Yeah, the doors will
become-
have to shrink.
I don't know what they become. They become 6'5".
Yeah, then you can't fit a car in.
Yeah, no, I
So-
don't think that would help.
And then on the upper level, at its peak, because again, it's not a flat roof or flat
Yeah.
ceiling, I should say,
Yeah.
on that upper level, but at its peak, it would have a finished ceiling height of about 8'5". That tapers down to, certainly south of that. So,
And the 8'5" is when you're inside, but from the outside, that, the roof of the garage is measured at 1 foot 7 inches taller than the roof of the existing house. So it is under 2 feet currently in terms of trying not to be too dominant.
I think it's okay. These elevations are always difficult to look at. What you're not reading is the roofs are going away from
Right.
you. They're going away from you. They're not like this. So I think the scale of it is not bad.
It is hard. I mean, I can say also, like, having spent time looking at it, that, like, there is that vantage point where how it does, I think, in the actual build of it in real 3D would not make it seem in that way as
Might be
well.
hard to actually
Because once
read
someone
that
talks about
1.6.
something being, 2-foot difference.
That's 2'6".
This is 2 feet right here. So this is the difference
Right.
from the top of the garage roof
Right.
in comparison to the existing rooftop.
Got it.
That with the giant tree over it and everything else, I think would kind of get washed out.
The existing windows in the original house, are those replacement windows or are those?
They are
Original.
definitely not the original windows.
Okay. Are they grills? Are they snap-in grills?
I don't know what that is.
Like,
I don't know what a snap-in grill
They're
is.
like individual panes of glass in the windows.
I mean, they're not glass. They're
not
must be
glass.
whatever
The what?
they're not glass windows.
You're saying so they're vinyl windows?
Yeah.
Okay, but then within let's say the operable sash, is
Okay.
it just one piece of glass, or are there multiple pieces of glass with like pieces of wood separating?
No. In terms of those like current
Yeah,
windows,
just
like right
existing,
there,
like, yeah.
they're just plain vinyl. Those are not the original windows from the house. They were definitely updated at some point.
I have one other question, and just to elaborate on what you said. There is a large tree in front of the garage. And your point is, part of the foliage of that tree will obscure the roof and the garage, so it will be less noticeable. Okay, I think that's an important factor.
Yeah, because
Appreciate
also
that.
we were very careful to keep that tree.
No, I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
To get back to the
I had two of
windows,
them,
I think what we're recommending is that shed dormer be
two of them.
taken away on the front and
One
just,
day.
I think you have two, one on the
Oh,
front
yeah.
and one on the back. But if you decide, if you want to keep that, I think the windows are not compatible, these, with the original.
The whole thing's not compatible. There's no dormers and the.
Yeah, but if you had the framing, that's the thickness as this, would
Are you
it?
talking about the trim and
The trim,
casing around the
yeah,
windows?
yeah.
That would help.
So did you hear that? The casing and the trim around the windows on that dormer? If,
Oh, on top of the garage?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you can't see the rendering. Where's the rendering on A1-2?
Yeah, it's a rendering,
Just slide it over. Can you
1.2.
move
It would help-
Move it to the right.
because now
There you
it
go.
just looked
Okay, right
that.
there, okay. So you see how all the other windows have 4 inches of white trim around it?
Yeah,
That doesn't exist on those 2 windows in that dormer.
okay.
Yeah, I
You know,
it's just no
again,
matter how it's
I
rendered.
just add-
It's shown on
just-
the elevation, but not on the rendering.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
No,
okay.
it's not.
Well, I think in the one on the bottom.
Like if you see, like the width, the size of the trim as drawn on the existing elevation is consistent with how it's drawn. on the
Right,
rendering.
because now it just
But in
looks,
the rendering, it's not, it does not reflect.
What kind of, what are you drawing there as trim? Like,
Like this here where the mouse is, like this.
3-inch
these are your
trim?
Casings.
That's
So I guess
not
what I'm saying
3
is, at least, to the point of, yes, the casings on the new windows should be consistent with the casing, size and
On the
profiles of
existing.
house.
Yeah.
I would agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
existing.
all right, I think that would make it
Yeah, I
an
think it's like the
improvement.
one on the bottom, it's a little
Big
bit
improvement.
Chair, could I make a comment, actually, sticking with the windows? If we look at the east elevation of the garage, the second floor, it's not shown on the renderings, but it is in the elevation. You have these 2 trapezoidal windows that follow the roof line, that kind of mirror each other. I do feel that will be visible from the street, and wanted to call it to the attention of the,
tree right here.
What, the one on the second floor?
Yeah.
correct, the 2 of them, yes.
In terms of them having the same framing around the windows?
In terms of them not being rectangles, unlike
Oh.
all the other windows, except for you do have one window in the back, a very small window of the original structure that comes to a peak,
Right,
but it doesn't have this 45-degree slant
okay.
on one
gotcha.
side.
Oh,
so,
I didn't even,
I would agree with that. I'd
Yes.
rather see you make that center window wider.
Okay.
And just get rid of those, if you're talking about amount of light that you might lose
Okay,
from these, but that 45, that, whatever it is.
Right, it's
45 is a very
inconsistent with the
moderate
other
kind
ones.
of
Okay.
Detail that probably doesn't fit this house. I agree with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, the detail under the, oh, there are no rat's tails under here, are there? What did I think? Never mind. It's just, I thought that's what you were trying to, the architect was trying to replicate with the, with whatever it was over the garage door.
Yeah, see, I would just extend that roof on the garage.
Yeah,
out to that same distance and get rid of that one. Get rid of that.
You're saying basically extend this
Just extend that, to there, yeah, right? And then do your
Right.
bracket, you could do some brackets up higher, and if you could lift the garage doors, whatever.
Yeah, be a big,
Do some trim work.
all right, any other comments? These are going to go to the zoning board, no?
These are just recommendations.
Recommendations, yes?
We have no real power.
But we hope
But we
you hope.
do, they listen to
Well,
us
I mean, I agree
sometimes.
that it's just a prominent house,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not in either of our intentions to do something egregious or
No,
to
we can
any,
we can see that. We
yeah.
can see that.
So I think that some of the small details make a lot of sense.
In contrast to the previous submission, which was all stucco.
John, all right, thank you very much. Thanks an awful lot. Good luck.
Okay, thank
All right.
Thank you.
When does this go to the zoning board?
We're aiming for April 2nd, right?
Oh,
You did your
that's
notice.
Good.
close. All right, good
Quick.
luck.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
I am.
I'm sorry. Wait, just 1 minute. I can't wait. Good luck. So we are on to the last subject of the night, a very brief discussion of the affordable housing in Montclair. Janice and Zanab did a really wonderful presentation last week. It's online. I sent everybody the websites that you could click on and listen to it. And the implications for this need to build more housing in not only our township, but all around the state and in the country, will have impact upon its preservation. And basically, it's the idea of investigating the R1 districts, which are single-family housing, and also the RO district, which is the larger estate section, the big houses on the hill with the property around it. So I think that as the Historic Preservation Commission, we should have a robust dialogue to discuss and understand what the changes will bring to this township, and really why we're here, like why we're looking at preservation and why we do our recommendations and do all this work. So I just think it's important that people know about this, and perhaps we can formulate an opinion to send it then on to the council and the mayor and the council, because they will certainly have to deal with this in the very near future. And when is the affordable housing, does it have to go to the state? Is that in June?
Yeah, it's the end of June.
Okay, so I thought if we were able to, I'm asking everyone to really look at this information, look at this report, the study that came out from the planning school at Rutgers University, and just to get some ideas of what you think and how it's going to impact the work that we do here. Do you have any questions? Because Zanab did they did a fabulous.
Just some, I should look at what you did before I start asking questions.
Yes.
So let me do that.
Well, the other thing I thought is, I know that Janice did a presentation for the planning board, correct? With that,
It was the same presentation.
Well, do you think she would be willing to, we could ask her, I don't know what our agenda is going to be next month, but maybe it would be beneficial for us to ask her if she could do that for us. We could put it in the beginning of the meeting.
I can ask her. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be great, because it was a very well, presentation, really good scope to it. Okay. All right, with that, we have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.